And think about it like this: in your own household,
Okay.
you've got your mortgage, you've got your electricity, you've got maybe your lawn care, you've got your water charge, your trash charge, maybe you've got a little HOA, maybe you've got a little a warranty on your home. Are any of those things getting cheaper? Are any components of the housing line item in your family budget getting cheaper? No, they're all going up, which means your housing cost is never going to go down. And running the utilities much the same way.
What's up, Camden County? You are catching a bonus episode of the Getting in Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Alison Shores from the Camden County Chamber of Commerce. And today in the studio, I have Tim Echols with the Georgia Public Service Commission. He is the seated commissioner for District 2 for the whole state of Georgia.
Wish I was as cool as you.
Oh, please.
But I'm not.
Please. You're so much cooler. First of all, thank you for taking the time with me today. I really appreciate it. I know your schedule is busy. So
I love doing podcasts. I mean, so many people get their information from podcasts these days. I've got like 10 of them that I listen to as I drive around the state. I'm addicted to them.
Yeah. I didn't know it was such a big thing until I started getting into it. Now I'm all into podcasts. So
because you can catch it anytime you want.
Yes. So Commissioner Echols, before we get started talking about you, can you take a minute to explain to our chamber members what exactly the Public Service Commission does and how it impacts them and their businesses?
There's a lot of people moving into Camden County from other places. They're retiring here. It's become a retirement community, and they're used to maybe electricity being generated a certain way or a certain type of utility. Maybe even like if they're from Texas or from New England, they get to pick their utility, and they come here and they go, "Wow, this is really different." Well, it's not really different. It's the way we've always done it. And we're pretty happy with it. The legislature in 1973 created territories. So you have your EMCs that are down here in Southeast Georgia, and they have a territory. Your house may be sitting in their territory. You can't pick Georgia Power. You can't pick a city to deliver. You have to take what you get, and you have to take their rates. You have to take their plan. Of course, with EMCs, you're a member. You actually own the thing. But you can run for office in your EMC.
But why can't we pick?
Well, because the legislature
said
created state laws and said we're going to have territories. So they could change it if they wanted to, but I really think probably the EMCs would cry bloody murder. Yeah. And I just don't see any possibility of changing it unless things get really bad here. Yeah. Like they have in some other parts of the country where you're having rolling brownouts and bills are double or triple what our bills are. They're closing nuclear plants in New England, Massachusetts, Vermont. If you have crazy stuff like that going on, you may have a revolt, but pretty much people are, nobody wants their bill to ever go up on anything, not even chamber dues, but but
tell me about
it. But it invariably happens that things go up, especially when you're in inflationary times. But anyway, I think people are pretty happy with the overall reliability of the grid.
Okay, so let's back up for just a second. So what does this service commission do? Like, is it what are you doing?
Originally, we were regulating trains back when everybody was riding trains. Think about it. If you were around in the late 1800s, early 1900s. How were you going to go see your mother, your aunt? You were either going to go in a little covered wagon or a horse. How safe is that? Right. How comfortable is that? Imagine being there when trains were kind of rolled out.
And, I can't even imagine.
And Jessup, Georgia was like train central over there. It was a very important crossroads for trains. And of course, trains came down to Brunswick, and that's where all of those rich New Yorkers came down to start the Jekyll Island Club. Yeah. They came by train. They had their own car called a Pullman car. A train would hook up to their car in the back, and you've got your servants, you've got your food, you've got your family, all your amenities, all your trunks of clothing going to Jekyll Island for 3 months, January, February, and March. But eventually...
It was important here. Going from St. Mary's to Kingsland, that was important.
Trains put cities on the map. And eventually the legislature gave us telegraph lines and then gas lines, electric lines. So think about PSC like this. Anything on the right-of-way, we probably have something to do with it on the right-of-way.
Huh. So that includes like all utilities.
Yeah, all utilities.
Telephone.
Not really water. I mean, county in Georgia, counties do water, and in Southeast Georgia, you have private water companies. That's very unusual. But like Jessup, where my grandparents were from in Wayne Terrace, they had 3 or 4 wells that were providing for the entire neighborhood, and it was run by a private water company. They paid their utility bill to a private water company for water.
Huh. Now, I want to go back to something you said earlier with, rates with Georgia Power. So you are in charge of regulating those rates, or your office, not you.
Yeah. The 5 commissioners have final say-so on power plants that can be built. And, the way we kind of back into utility rates. So you think about it like this. Think about a giant pie graph with all the components of running a utility. So the power lines, the storm damage, the trucks, the buildings, the power plants, the trains to get the fuel there. Think about all of this stuff, and then we divide it by the number of customers. And so we have several rate plans. Maybe you're on a different rate plan as a Georgia Power customer than, say, a business or a data center, or even a person even that has solar power. You would be on a different rate than them. But ultimately, that's divided. It's just a mathematical, equation, and that becomes the kilowatt hour charge.
So it's a math equation. It's not you saying, I think that we need to put it here.
And no, it's not any kind of warm and fuzzy, capricious, they've been a good boy. Let's give Georgia Power a reward. No, we're not giving them any reward. We're looking at what it costs. And when you look at, you've got your mortgage, you've got your electricity, you've got maybe your lawn care, you've got your water charge, your trash charge, maybe you've got a little HOA, maybe you've got a little a warranty on your home. Are any of those things getting cheaper? Are any components of the housing line item in your family budget getting cheaper? No, they're all going up, which means your housing cost is never going to go down. And running the utilities much the same way. You've got all of these components, whether it's the babysitting of all the coal ash, the 80 million tons of coal ash that we have sitting on the ground in Georgia because of the power that your grandparents used. All that ash from all that coal is still sitting there.
Wow.
And now with increased federal regulations, now we have to dig wells every 50 yards to round those coal ash ponds. We got to monitor those. We got to pay engineering firms to give us the data. We've got all of this additional regulation. That also goes into your power bill. So it's not just your power, it's the cost of doing all of this business.
Wow. Huh. I never stopped to think about all the things, and you bringing it back to coal. What?
You know what? Because we frankly don't even want you to have to think about. We want you to be able to turn on these studio lights in here and turn on the power to your building and never doubt that it's going to come on. We want you feeling like we've got the best grid in the world. And that's when we're doing our job. When you're not having to go, man, I wonder if we're going to have an outage today. I wonder if they're going to roll us off the grid today like they do in Oakland or San Francisco when it gets hot. Are they going to tell us not to use our power, not to do laundry because the grid's in crisis? You don't have to worry about any of that.
You're right.
Because we value reliability above all. That's why so many companies are coming here. That's why chambers are getting more members, because more people are coming here because we've got a great state to sell. We've got a workforce. We've got great quality of life. We've got great schools. We've got all of this positive regulatory environment that causes companies to leave California because they're so frustrated. I mean, you've got to be pretty bad in California to run Toyota and Nissan out of your state.
Yeah.
And California's run them out of they're running a lot of people out of their state because they've got onerous regulations. They make it difficult to do business. Our job in Georgia is to make it easy. And we're welcoming. We got Southern County.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah. Camden County's growing just like so many counties are.
It really is. We're growing, and we're excited about it, but a lot of things are changing. And so I think we're trying to, adapt with those changes and figure it out.
I'm going to make a prediction here.
Okay, go.
If this legislature eliminates Georgia income tax, which a number of those people running for office next year won't, if they put us on par with Florida in Tennessee who have no state income tax, Camden County is going to explode because people are going to come here in greater droves because there is no state income tax. Not just retirees, but wealthy people. It's going to do wonders for your tax digest. I mean, that's not in my lane, and I'm not really advocating it, but I'm just making a prediction here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to call you in a few years.
Okay,
and see
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, living on the coast, we're blessed with like great weather, access to water, and all these things make our part of Georgia, we call it a little slice of heaven. Truly, it's great.
Except for the mosquitoes.
Yeah, we hate the mosquitoes, but
we'll get rid of them.
Yeah, but we also know with that comes the need to prepare and to be resilient. How do you think, or how does the PSC work to ensure that the power supply is prepared for like the next big storm? Because we are in hurricane season.
Yeah, undergrounding lines can help. It's not completely magical because now you've got them down in the ground, and there's a greater chance that they will be hit by someone out there digging because you have to call 811, and sometimes guys don't, or sometimes they dig in the wrong place and they hit it, and the whole neighborhood goes out. So there's that. But I think from a resiliency standpoint, having all the batteries that we are deploying around at substations, and to listeners, the substation is that fence with all of that electrical gear.
And you're like, what is that? All that crap behind there,
That's the entrance ramp for the grid right there.
Okay.
Or the exit ramp.
Okay.
So from Plant Hatch, where y'all get a lot of your power, you're getting nuclear power here. It's coming down, out of that big power line into that substation, out along the distribution lines. That's your neighborhood electric poles or your neighborhood underground. So you've got to make sure trees get trimmed. This is a problem. A lot of times when Georgia Power sends a tree trimming crew out, people complain, they're cutting down my trees. This is awful. Well, look, we need to trim them back, because if they hit that power line,
I was about to say, what is worse?
You're going to get a blink on the microwave. You're going to have to reset everything. Anytime anything touches the top line of the power, the very tip top line is the electric line.
Okay.
All of those other ones that sometimes are sagging, those are communication lines.
Thank you for telling me that.
That could be telephone. It could be cable. And frankly, I saw one at the Girl Scout camp up in Savannah that was sagging all the way down to the marsh. Part of it was in the water. It was still working. And there was no danger of any electrocution because it wasn't the electric lines.
Okay.
So, they just happened to camp out on Georgia Power's poles.
Okay.
So we got to make sure things are trimmed. So next time you see a tree trimming crew out there, don't call and complain. Don't fuss at your city councilman or your county commissioner, because what happens is if enough people fuss, then those county commissioners they call Georgia Power,
and they're like,
and then
quit.
Georgia Power's going, we're getting all these complaints. Okay, let's just we'll just do a little bit. But we don't want a little bit. We want to make sure we've got those right of ways.
Yeah, because people complain when they don't have power.
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, you got to pick your poison here. We've got to cut them back.
The good news is we've got a 26% reserve margin. We could cut power bills right now by cutting that reserve margin down to about 10%. We could drop power bills $20 a month by doing that, but it would put you in jeopardy about 8 days out of the year, where you'd probably be rolled off the grid. You'd get a notice, hey, we're going to have be careful this afternoon. We may have an event if everybody's using power. We don't want that.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we don't want that.
That's crazy. I want to kind of go off script for a second and talk about solar panels. That's kind of a craze right now with people, putting some on their house to eliminate some of their power bill. I don't understand how it works. So can you break solar energy down for me?
I have 8 panels on my house.
Okay.
And those 8 panels cost me $6,200.
Okay.
Payback on it with the tax credit I got is about 8 years. So we're planning on being in the house longer than 8 years. So I will have that paid off. I don't have a mortgage. I just paid the $6,200 on that. But it saves me about $35 a month, $35.
Okay.
if I had double the number of panels, if I'd put 16 on instead of 8, it would save me $70 a month. And the math just goes forward. So the more you put on there, the more you save.
I guess I just don't understand you put it on your roof, but then how does it convert the energy? Like, I don't understand how that works. So
those wafers, the little black squares are silicone inlaid with silver. And so as the sun hits it, the electrons dance around and you go through the inverter, and mine gets consumed in my own house. So I'm partially powering my own house. I'm not feeding any back to the grid. I'm just using it right there. So instead of spending the money with utility, I'm spending whatever I would less $35. So I'm just saving.
So if your power goes out from Georgia Power, will the solar panels power it? No,
that will not.
Okay.
You have
it's
to have
not
a
a
battery.
Okay.
I mean, theoretically, it would if we didn't have protection going back onto the power grid. We don't when there's an outage and workers are up on in that bucket working. We don't want any feedback going out there to hurt them.
Yeah.
So when solar panels are put on homes, they automatically disconnect when power goes out.
Do you have any advice for like when power does go out and there are storms and we're out for a few days? What is your advice to people?
I really think before the tax credit ends on solar and batteries at the end of this year, so 26% federal tax credit. Those batteries are just like a generator. The batteries aren't disconnected. So you put these Tesla battery walls in your garage, whether you have solar or not. It doesn't even matter if you have solar. And you make sure if you see a hurricane's coming, you make sure you keep those batteries full. And then when you lose power, those batteries are going to power your home for 4 days.
Oh, wow.
4 days. And you don't have to go out and get any diesel or gasoline. The batteries are better than a generator. You just have to pay attention, just like you would if you had a diesel generator, to go fill up your big gas cans and have them sitting at your house.
Is there any chance those can catch on fire?
Yeah, they can catch on fire just like a generator can have an accident. But you do have a possibility that you could have a malfunction and they could overheat.
Okay, all right, good to know. The other questions I have are so we talked about the EMC here and Georgia Power. Do you regulate both of them?
We regulate just a couple of things on the EMCs. They're like we had an EMC thing earlier today at the commission on Zoom. We are allowed to Zoom in. So their financing projects we have to approve. So a lot of times EMCs will refinance some of their debt, or they will go into debt to do some upgrades, and they have to get our approval on that. And then we also set the rates when cable companies and others want to attach to the EMC pole. So they have poles like over in Nahana at Ofikanovi EMC.
Yeah.
They have poles, and cable companies have to pay per pole to attach. We set the rate for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Now, one of our Chairman Circle sponsors here at the Chamber is Plug Power. I've had the opportunity.
I've been there.
Okay, yes, I visited it myself, and it's incredible the science that they use to produce the hydrogen for the fuel cells. I've heard from our Joint Development Authority that Hyundai may even be using hydrogen fuel cells to power their trucks that carry cars to the port of Savannah.
That's not exactly right.
Okay.
Hyundai has 21 Class 8 hydrogen tractors or semi-trucks.
Okay.
But they're not carrying cars. They're actually picking up supplies from the suppliers.
Okay.
And doing what they call milk runs is the way the industry refers to it.
Okay.
So they'll run down and get the seats at this supplier, and they use the hydrogen truck to go over there 18 miles and get that and bring it back. So they're not using it for hauling any cars at this point, though I think if they have continued good luck with these hydrogen trucks, I think you could see them do that.
Are you a fan of the hydrogen?
I'm a huge fan. I've actually driven one of their trucks. I have a CDL myself, and I drove one of their hydrogen semis.
So what is being done to help companies like Plug Power advance their product and bring it to the market, to Georgia and wherever?
I think
nationally?
Nothing more than we're doing for anything else. Georgia Economic Development has incentives, and if people meet the number of employee requirements, then they're getting an incentive on that. But there's no essential grant that Georgia's giving for green energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Georgia's pulled down more clean energy technology manufacturing than any state. We're number one, but there was a federal incentive in that quote Inflation Reduction Act that Biden did that Trump is pretty much unwinding. But a lot of those incentives, including the Hyundai plant, got some of that money, and Georgia is a leader in pulling down that money. Plug. Was a possibility that we were going to get a hydrogen hub here. Yeah. I know Senator Ossoff lobbied for that, but we did not make the finalist list, and we didn't get it. And so Plug, I think, was one of the losers on that. They would have been a key component of the hydrogen hub if we had gotten that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Now, a lot of I know we talked earlier about how, everything is the cost of everything is rising. It just is. Everything with our homes, with our groceries, with a lot of things are a little more expensive, especially more so than, even 5 years ago. So I kind of want to know what do you do on a consistent basis that helps keep some of these rates down for our businesses and stuff? Because right now they're trying to, kind of project what their next year is going to be like, what those kinds of things. And I think there's a lot of unknowns out there. Go ahead.
Well, we're not going to sacrifice reliability for anything.
I appreciate that.
But we did just freeze Georgia Power's rates for 3 years.
And what does that mean?
Yeah.
Are you freezing the summer rates? Because that makes my heart want to just...
No, we're freezing all the rates. Remember I talked about the pie graph earlier, all the components that go in it. Essentially, we're saying to Georgia Power, look, we're not going to consider anything else you've put into the pie. We're not going to, for 3 years, you're going to have to just pay for it yourself. Okay. And then at the end of 2028, we'll go back to business as usual. So we're going to keep the per kilowatt hour rate, that the base rate that customers are paying, businesses and residential, we're going to keep it the same, because by law, they are allowed to recover all prudently incurred cost by law. I mean, this is not some kind of willy-nilly decision the PSC makes. It is written into the Georgia Code. And essentially, the power company has agreed to not request any of their additional costs for 3 years. So I think that's great news for business.
That is good news. I think there's a lot of confusion over the freeze about just how that works, because I think in our world, like we see, rates may change for the summer, or they may, it feels like your power bill is so much more during the summer, and maybe that's not attributed to rates. Maybe that's just because it's so hot here and it's running more. I don't know what the answer is.
Let me answer that question.
Okay, answer.
I mean, summer rates are higher because people are using more.
Yeah.
And if we have 52 things in our stack of all of, start with our nuclear plant, go all the way down to a little a number 2 fuel oil plant we have down here, around the Southeast Georgia. That fuel oil side is at the very bottom. We don't want to have to run that. That's the most expensive, dirtiest thing we have to run.
Okay.
So in the summer, we're using most of the 52 things on a really hot day. Yeah. Now, things are starting to cool down a little bit. We're not using everything, but on a hot August afternoon at 4 o'clock, we're using everything. So that means those very bottom units that we're using, that are the oldest, the most expensive, those are getting used, and that's being factored into what people are paying. And that's why the summer rates are higher, because we're using more things. In the winter, we're not using all of that. And so the winter rates are a little cheaper, but we're freezing. We're not saying you're going to pay less or you're not going to have summer rates anymore. No, we're just freezing the per kilowatt hour charge and not allowing Georgia Power to add anything to their costs.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Now, was there anything that you wanted to touch on? I've kind of gone through the things that I was curious about, that I wanted to know the answers to, and I felt like I'd been hearing from our members. Was there anything you wanted to touch on before we call it a day?
Camden County is pretty unique with a lot of that land up against the marsh over there, not too far from the naval station. There's a lot of opportunity down here, and I'm not sure what y'all are going to wind up with. There's a lot of counties that are getting data centers, and they're controversial. So let's take a town like Porterdale in Newton County, where they make movies over there. I mean, they film Vampire Diaries, Sweet Magnolia. There's been a number of things. Dukes of Hazzard, way back, was filmed there. But Porterdale is getting one of the largest data centers in the state, and they're glad to do it. Each of the 8 buildings cost about $1 billion to build. Each one of these data centers of the 8, they're the size of a super Walmart. And so they're happy to get it. It was built into their city plan. Other cities like Atlanta have put a moratorium on them, and there are counties that are fighting about data centers. So you guys have a lot of land here, and I think eventually folks are going to knock on your door, and you're going to, have to make a decision. And when I say you, I mean the county commissioners.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So
not me.
Your county commissioners are very important people because they set zoning rules. They determine, whether businesses can come in and where they're located. Even like solar policies, for example. They would determine what the setback would be on solar and what the rules are. So
your county sets that.
Your county sets all that.
Oh, wow.
They sure do. We just provide the power to the money to the power company so that they can generate the power needed. But your county commissioners are determining what goes where.
Wow.
And so it's a very important role. And the part of the problem, Alison, in America today is that we got all these cable news channels, and we see these politicians up there, and we think that these rock star politicians are really making decisions that impact our daily life, and we've kind of forgotten the importance of the public service part of a city council person or a county commissioner, and the role that they play in our daily lives, and whether our library gets improved, whether the ball field gets redone, whether that road with the potholes gets fixed, and whether the park gets built, whether we get a splash pad or not for the kids. All of that decided on a local basis.
Yeah. Man, something else I wanted to ask, I just was looking at my notes. Is it true that Georgia Power is actually 15% below the national average?
It's not 15 anymore. It's more like 11.
11?
It was until our rate increase. But, I mean, eventually everybody has a rate increase. They don't all happen at the same time. Like, hey, on June 30th, everybody in America is getting a rate increase. It just depends on what you're building, when it gets finished. But there's no way we could come out of the pandemic with that inflation, building a nuclear plant, with the stress on natural gas now because of the Ukrainian conflict. I mean, people don't realize that war over there is costing you $20 a month.
Wow.
Every Georgia Power customer is paying about $20 a month because of that war. Why? Because America's sending natural gas to Europe because they're boycotting Russian gas. They were buying Russian gas, and then they started buying U.S. gas being sent over from Elba Island in Savannah on giant thermos bottle ships to provide Europe with what they need. And that caused our prices to go up. And that is then passed on to you as a Georgia Power customer because half of our power is generated with natural gas. Half of it.
Wow.
It's a huge factor. And I'll be so glad when that war's over, not just because it's going to save lives, because our cost for generating power will go down. So
you have taught me so much today, like seriously. But I was reading something about you, and that you're a big advocate for, stopping sex trafficking. Is
my daughter is a special agent in the Justice Department in the Crimes Against Children's unit. So she's putting perverts, I'll call them, in jail every day.
Well, I wanted to talk about how he's 17.
Yep. Well, the thing is, anywhere there are men, and a lot of men, it could be men working in construction, it could be men going to football games like the Super Bowl, these traffickers who, quote, own these girls. Yeah. Yeah, and they own 3 or 4 of them. They're bringing them in, they're putting them in the Red Roof Inn, they're advertising them, and they're shopping them during that particular event or for that particular time, and they move them around. My daughter's chasing them as they go around, trying to catch them and trying to set them up and sting them. And our Unholy Tour, we rent a bus and we take officials and leaders to the back of strip clubs, to the back of karaoke bars, believe it or not, to the back of truck stops, to the back of massage parlors, because the massage parlors. These are the ones with the Asian women, sometimes sleeping in those places. They've got their passports locked up in a safe.
What?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is a huge thing.
My heart couldn't take it.
Yeah, and the DAs that are after them, that have time to go after them, I mean, it's very difficult you got to catch them in the act of solicitation. And the manager, the guy who owns the girls, or, who has, maybe he got them to come in from Korea or from Vietnam. And then he says, well, you came over, maybe she was thinking she was going to work in the hospitality business at a hotel. Well, she's working for him now, and he's making her, perform, at the end of these massages. And then he's telling her, well, you've got to pay me for the rent because you're sleeping here, and your clothes, well, you got to pay me for those, and you got to pay me for your airfare. I paid for that. So he's basically got them as an indentured servant. And they are doing this stuff until they can pay him off and get out of it. It's a horrible thing.
I just can't even fathom.
Oh yeah. It's so prevalent. And I mean, Chris Carr, our Attorney General, has gone after a bunch of them. Marty Kemp, our First Lady, she has helped get facilities built so that when a minor is rescued out of this, that she's got someplace to go away from these pimps who want them back. They want them back. And she's and the horrible thing is they're addicting these girls to drugs. So, imagine if you were sold 7 or 8 times a day, you're probably wanting to go on drugs so that you can not think about this.
To forget, to not even
and so
be present.
Now you're addicted to this stuff. I'm sorry to get so passionate about this, but this is one of the things I'm so concerned about. And it's my daughter says we just can't get ahead of these guys. You put one in jail, another one pops up, and it's not just men, it's some women. There's some mothers selling their girls. There's some mothers that are selling their girls for drugs. They're letting guys have their daughter for an hour for a hit of this or a hit of that. And it's just, it is unbelievable what's going on out there. It's hard.
Well, thank you for, your efforts into stopping this. Yeah. I know that it's a almost an impossible fight, but
they call me the Batman Commissioner.
Batman Commissioner.
Regulate by day and fight crime by night.
I love it. I love it, Tim. I love it. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time today, for taking the time to explain some of this, because it's not what I do for a living, so I don't really understand some of this, and you've helped bring light to so many things. So thank you for your time and being willing to answer questions. I really appreciate it very much.
Find out more at timechols.com.
Perfect. Guys, go check out Tim Echols. He's doing some amazing things here in the state of Georgia and for Camden County. So we are very blessed to have him. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys. You've caught a bonus episode of the Getting in Your Business podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.